Everybody, Happy New Year. It's New Year's Day. And if anybody's like me, we're all a little bit tired of eating and drinking, and I'm starting to freeze the cookies because I got to the point where I'm just eating them because I don't want them to go to waste. So, but it was wonderful. The holidays were good in spite of, all the obstacles that we were given this year. So just wanted to thank everybody. This has been so much fun. We started the channel in June, and I have really loved it. I love all the people that I'm getting to know from all over the world. It's just so cool. And just wanted to thank everybody. Thank you for your support, for your kind comments, for liking the videos if you are a liker, and for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Subscribing is great. You get notifications if you set the bell. So when I load a new video, which I try to do every Sunday, then you'll get the notification that there's something new available. Two things I want to let everybody know. One is I'm going to be going live on Instagram with Fairly Fiber Fun. Fairy like fairies, Fairly Fiber Fun. I'll put a link on her to her site on my comments here. And it's going to be at 11 o'clock on the 5th of January. On her Instagram, we're going to go live, and she's going to help me work on the gauge problem I encountered with my bushel basket liner that I was trying to make. So that should be fun. She's done a lot of stuff she messes with patterns all the time, and I follow her feed, and she seems to really be expert level at a lot of stuff. So I'm kind of excited to learn some things at that session. And then the other thing that's coming up is I was interviewed by Casey Dowell on her podcast, which is called Dearly Woven. And the episode that she interviews me airs January 19th. So that's a podcast, so that's something that you can go and subscribe. And what she did last year was her podcast was all about research that she did while trying to decide what breed of sheep she wanted to raise. So I'm not going to spoil it by saying what she picked. She has made her decision and is in the process of getting ready to bring sheep onto the farm. But it's fun to listen to her interview all the different people that raise sheep and, her journey. So anyway, that's going to be fun, and I'm pretty sure it's the 19th. And then also, I got to do that. I've got a spin-off article coming out in the spring edition, which should be coming out pretty soon. I have one last edit request that I have to do by the 4th. So I got to get that done. Ooh, forgot about that. So lots of interesting things happening. And again, just let you know what's going on and to say thanks to everybody for your support. So Rich and I are here to talk about hay today, and I've gotten a couple questions about hay from breeders as well as just people that are curious. Hay is the key nutrition source for the sheep, which to me seems remarkable that hay and grass they can survive on really well. So I guess the first question I have for you, Rich, is what are the basic nutritional components of hay that keep sheep living?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of vitamins in hay, minerals, that the sheep need, just like humans need in their daily diet. That's why when you look at hay, you want hay that's not rained on and it's greener than it is brown, because that's an indication that the nutrients have been washed out of the hay. So you want to make sure you have your selenium, which most areas are deficient in selenium. So that's why you give them supplemental minerals to make up for that. But other minerals and vitamins should be in the hay. Your vitamin A's and your D's and your E's, that kind of thing. All of that they can get from their minerals, but also from the hay. So it's very important. The other nutrients you would want would be your protein. Minerals don't supply protein, so you're not going to get anything from that. So it's very important that the hay, if the hay have a good amount of protein, or you're going to have to supplement that with grain. And various grains would have protein as well. So those are the key things that they get out of the hay, and why the hay needs to be of the best quality possible.
So what, I know that there's different kinds of hay, because I've heard you talk about, a certain percentage of clover or whatever. So, can you talk a little bit about the kinds of hay, at least that you like to have for the sheep?
Yeah, so there's, horse people, they'll talk about, horse people tend to like the Timothy hays. And Timothy would be the tall stalks with the little grain on top of it. That's what people think of when they think about hay. And Timothy's usually grown in the early part of the year. So it exists in first cut hay primarily. So a lot of horse people use first cut hay. If it's a good quality, it's good for them. For sheep, it's not as good because Timothy tends to be coarse and stemmy, and they don't like that, and it's not very palatable for the sheep, so they waste a lot of it. There's also alfalfa hay, just like with horse people, and I keep comparing this to horse people because I'm more familiar with that growing up around horses. Yeah.
Right.
But they tend to avoid alfalfa because it's really high in protein. It can go anywhere from 16 to 20%. So horse people don't want that because it can cause digestive problems and death in their horses. And we don't like it for sheep, although I have used it, because for two reasons. One is it can also cause nutritional problems, diarrhea and things like that. But the little leaves, it consists of all these tiny leaves throughout the whole bale, and that gets in the wool. It could be negative and very hard to get out, that sort of thing. Now, even though we coat our sheep, it would still get all in the neck area, and it would be very hard to comb that out. Because those are really tiny flakes, little leaves on alfalfa. There's also brome grass, which you notice it when you see it. It's big, wide flakes of hay. We've used that. It's more grassy than it is stemmy, and the sheep will eat it. It's just lower in protein than say some of the other hay that we do like. Now what we use is mostly a grass-based hay. So I like to get as much grass in the hay as possible because one, it's cleaner. So if the sheep get it on them, they can eat it off. It doesn't really get embedded in the wool, and they really like it. It's very palatable for the sheep. So I like to get a high content of grassy hay. It's really my sweet spot. It's always second cut. Second cut will always have the highest amount of nutrition, and it'll be greener in color. It looks like hay, which you would think of as hay. Horse people wouldn't necessarily need hay of that quality. Not that they would, turn their nose up at it, but we typically pay more for that kind of hay because it's more valuable to us than it might be to some other species or breed or whatever. So we tend to go with the second cut because it is I think the nutrients overall are higher. We've tested our hay and we found that to be true, but we're mainly going for good palatability, cleanliness, and protein. So you got to hit that sweet spot between too little and too much protein.
Okay. So what do you mean when you say second cut hay? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so farmers will typically, when they do their first cut, they're cutting the Timothy, the taller, stockier type hay. So that's what they're getting when they're most of the first cut is mostly Timothy. There's some other grasses in there too, but it's heavy Timothy for the most part. And when we get second cut, that means they've already taken the first cut, it regrows, and when it regrows, you get a lot more grass, you get a lot more clover, and in some cases alfalfa will come up. And you might want to, depending on what you're raising, you might want second cut over first cut, and vice versa. So like I said, we like the second cut. It tends to be of higher quality, higher nutrition. They don't waste a lot of it. It's really a key thing as well.
So it's interesting because it really does talk about, it's the sequence of when it's cut over the summer. First cut was cut first, second cut they go in and they harvest that after. So, and it also has meaning though behind it.
And there's third and fourth cuts too, depending on the growing season. Farmers would love to get third and fourth cut because it's more money for them. The third and the fourth cut, in my opinion, I've not tested it, but I don't think it's as high of quality as the second cut because it gets to a point in the growing season, where you start to lose nutritional value. So I think second cut is that sweet spot that we like.
Okay.
Now, I said we like a lot of grass hay. I also like clover too. So I like to see some clover in the grass because it, increases the protein a little bit, and helps keep the body condition where it needs to be over the winter.
Yeah, I see the little purple flowers when I'm doing chores coming out of that's the clover, right?
That's the clover. And there's different kinds of it. There's white clover, there's red clover. We don't have a high percentage of clover in our hay, but I like to see some in there. Just like in your pastures, you want to have some high protein, whether it's trefoil or a bird's foot trefoil or clover. Like I said, I don't like alfalfa. I think for us it doesn't work. Even in a pasture, it doesn't work for us very well. It's just too high in protein. Whereas the clover and the trefoils are more manageable. You don't have to worry about how much the sheep eat when they're on pasture. When you're feeding hay, you can kind of regulate how much they eat a lot better. But those are the things that we look for.
Interesting. Okay, so what is the difference between hay and straw? I think people get confused because they both look kind of similar in a bale and stuff.
And the sheep will eat both, so
Oh.
depending on what kind of straw it is. I mean, there's barley straw and there's wheat straw. You usually see wheat straw for the most part. So when they harvest the wheat, they also harvest the stalks as well. And most farmers today, they make large bales of straw. There's not much. The smaller round square barrels that we use, you don't see as much anymore. It's more economical for them and more efficient to do the large bales. But straw is primarily we use for bedding, because what that does is straw is basically little hollow tubes. The stalk is hollow, and when you layer that on top of each other, it kind of traps moisture underneath that. So when the sheep lay on it, or any animal lays on it, horses as well, it keeps them dry. And so that's why you use straw. Like again, the sheep will eat it, but it's not as tasty as hay for them. So they're always going to choose the hay over the straw until they run out of hay. So straws tend to be the classic wheat, the golden color, whereas hay can be anywhere from brown to gray or green. Hope it's not gray, but green, depending on how it was harvested, how much it sat in the field. Because when hay sits in the field, it may not have got rained on, but it may have been bleached by the sun, which is also a problem. It bleaches the nutrients out of it. So those are the primary differences between hay and straw.
Okay, the next question I have is how much hay does a Shetland sheep need to thrive compared to other sheep?
Yeah, it depends. I think 3 pounds per sheep per day is adequate for a Shetland. Some people would say, no, that's not enough. Certainly I don't think anybody would say that's too much. But I think, I've read in the past 3 pounds, and I tried to figure it out based on a 50-pound bale and divide it up. It comes out to be about that. I think that works pretty well. Now, with pregnant ewes, I think they need more than that. So we tend to supplement the pregnant ewes with some sort of feed that has more protein in it. Maybe it doesn't have more protein in it than the hay, but at least it gives them something other than maybe they're not getting enough from the hay itself.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a little bit about graining and supplementing. Can you kind of give a little bit more insight into, when you do that and how you select the feed you're going to use?
Yeah, so, I've tried different things over the years. We used to always go with like the Blue Seal 16% pelleted feed for pregnant ewes and for ewes that have lambed, because they need the extra protein to produce milk then. That's when their body condition really suffers. So you want to really jack up the protein content at that point. So we've used that for years quite successfully. I've also tried something called hay stretcher, which a lot of people have probably seen. Tractor Supply has it. And that's just supposed to be, well, if you're short on hay, you're rationing your hay, you can use this pelleted feed. It's about 12% protein. And that will allow you to get more supplemental feed into the sheep without giving them extra hay. You always have to be careful when you start giving too much concentrated feed to animals, because really they want to be, they're a grazing animal. They want to be giving hay, timothy, whatever it is. That should be the bulk of their diet. But there's nothing wrong with supplementing it with some sort of pelleted feed as well.
So people use that like if they're really running out of hay? Is that mainly the reason for it? Or if they can't get enough hay?
I think so. I don't think there's any other reason to use it. That's what it's designed for. It's to mimic hay protein content. If you look at the label, it's pretty much, like I said, we've tested our hay before, and the breakdown of the hay structure is pretty similar. If you look at the components, the minerals and the nutrients, protein content is all designed to be the same as hay. The other thing we use is sweet feed. I started using that last year because I know some Shetland breeders do use that. Sheep really like it. A lot of molasses in it.
It smells really good.
And the minerals we use also have molasses in it, so sheep really like that. And I think that's a good feed to use. It's probably, to us, that's probably what we're going to do going forward, is doing the 12% sweet feed. Because I think it's not too heavy in protein, but it gives them enough extra when they're gaining weight and the lambs are growing, that it gives them the extra nutrients without increasing the amount of hay. The problem with increasing the amount of hay is you only have so much room. So like if you were giving them a bale a day and you double that to 2 bales a day, a lot of that's going to be wasted because you just don't have the space to, we don't anyway, the space to feed them. So that's why we go with the more pelleted feed to help out with that. And during lambing, it's different because when they're in their lambing pens, we do give them more hay as well because it's easier to manage that. But the other thing about pelleted feeds that people need to understand, and this would be true of a higher protein hay as well, is it will have a negative effect on the micron of the wool. So, and I've done studies in the past where I've tried with the same sheep year to year. It's all right, this year I'm giving them a lot of what we used 16% back then. And then the next year I cut back and didn't do as much, and you saw a dramatic change in the wool micron. Both per sheep, I mean, it varied. Some genetic lines had more of an increase or a decrease than others. But on the average, you could see a statistically significant change based on the amount of high protein feed I was giving them. So, not that you certainly don't want to underfeed the sheep. You want to make sure they're getting what they want, but you don't want to overdo the protein because after all, you are breeding for wool quality. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to destroy that by giving them a bunch of extra protein that they really don't need.
Right. Great. So, you've used cracked corn before. What was the
yeah?
For that?
When our first flock, the breeder used cracked corn mostly for lambing time. The last 4 weeks of pregnancy is when the lambs really start to grow. Prior to that, they really don't. And she said she used it 1 year and then didn't use it before because the lambs got too big and she had trouble with lambing. But I've never found that to be the case, and I've not found it to really help that much either in terms of body condition, that sort of thing. So I don't like to use that really. It's better than nothing. It's one of those types of things. Okay. But I don't see a lot of value. The good thing is it doesn't have a lot of protein. I think the bad thing is it doesn't have a lot of protein. So it seemed to me to be, okay, let's try this because it's calories, but it's not protein. But it didn't seem to help with the body conditions. And I certainly didn't see any lamb problems, big lambs, anything like that.
So we're going to stick with sweet feed then. So.
Yeah, for now, I think.
Great. I got to go get some.
Certainly we use sweets. Last year, I do this differently. Every year I experiment a little bit. Last year I started with the sweet feed. I don't even know if I was using sweet feed last year, right after breeding season. I started right away. The idea was, well, geez, maybe we'll get more twins if we do more supplemental high protein grain right from the beginning. So we did that. And we got a fair amount of twins. To compare it year to year is tough because, the only thing you can do is look at each sheep and say, oh, that one had a single last year and then this year it had twins, so maybe that made a difference. It's hard to look at your overall yield to say, yeah, we got 20 more twins this year than last year, so it must have been the feed.
Yeah. Could be age, could be all sorts of different things. Yeah.
Feeding grain that long from December until basically May 1st, essentially. I saw a lot of increase in the standard deviation and the overall average of the micron from what the same sheep might have had the year before. And I always say, yeah, you expect it. A young sheep, you expect the micron to keep increasing up to maybe age 4. But we had some older ewes where it happened too, and that shouldn't really be the case, and hasn't been the case in the past. So right now I'm trying to find that sweet spot where we started at a certain point, probably sometime in January, and that'll continue right through lambing again, like we did last year. And hopefully I strike that balance between good body weight, good sized lambs, good milk production, which is another component of your feeding program, and then hopefully it won't negatively impact the fleece quality.
Right.
And it'll be a lot cheaper.
Okay, the last question I had is, we always use square bales. Is there a reason why you prefer the square bales over those really large round bales?
Yeah, I mean, for us it's more manageable. I mean, certainly we could adapt and use round bales in our setup. They're harder to maneuver, obviously, harder to store. Most farmers store those outside. The reason I don't use round bales primarily is because you have to store them outside. We don't have the facility to store many of them inside. Usually it's first cut. I mean, certainly you can do round bales on second cut, but if you look at how round bales are made, it's more efficient for the farmer to make first cut because the stems are longer.
So
It's
wind up
easier to
better.
wind up better versus it's kind of like spinning, right? For the short staple versus really long. So and because of that, the quality is not really up to what we do, or what we need rather. The other thing is, because you store it outside rolls of it get destroyed, and that may be fine for cattle, and in fact is fine for cattle and other breeds, but for sheep they wouldn't eat that. It would just be wasted, and it's not very efficient for us. See, we got all this money invested in a whole, whatever those bales weigh, 500 pounds or whatever it is, and then you waste a third of it or whatever, if you're lucky. And I don't think the interior parts is good either. The parts that are ruined by the weather still aren't good enough for what we need.
Interesting. All right. Well, hopefully that answers some of your questions and gives you a little insight as to what we think about when it comes to feeding the sheep. Thank you.
I have a lace kit that I'm going to try using today. I'm going to install it on my wheel as part of the video and then demonstrate using it with some mill processed fawn roving that I've had for a few years. My wool stores are running low. I don't have that much left, so shearing can't come soon enough for me this year. So in the lace kit, this is from Majacraft, and it can be used on any wheel, any Majacraft wheel. And it comes with, I'm just taking it out of the bag that it is shipped in. It comes with a lace flyer, which has this is the smallest distance between the two flyer bars of all the flyers that Majacraft offers. And I'll show you side by side with the standard flyer so you can see that. And it uses the 6mm E-hook, which has the nice ceramic insert, so that makes your fiber glide. Let me just get this unwrapped here. Makes your fiber glide really nicely through the guides. So every guide is lined with a ceramic ring. So it comes with a flyer, first thing. And it also comes with a high-speed whorl, which is the smallest gear size available, and a little Allen key also comes with it in the bag. The lace whorl is sold as a separate item, as is the flyer. You can get both of these items individually if you want. The only thing about the lace flyer is obviously the standard bobbins don't fit. So here's a standard bobbin. Lace flyer are not compatible. You have to get either the lace bobbin or the baby bobbin to work with the flyer, if you decide to go get them separate. Then we have the lace bobbins. Now the lace bobbins from Majacraft are very distinctive. They have a very thick core diameter. And this is the new lace bobbin with little pinholes for your aura, black plastic grooves, which are supposed to minimize noise that you were getting on your old wood bobbins. Lace kit comes with 2 of these. So that's all the components of the lace kit. So the next thing I'm going to do is video myself installing them on my Majacraft rose. To prepare for making this video, I did watch a 1 minute and 40-second video on the Majacraft site about how to install the whorl, because that's the first thing we have to do, is we have to take this whorl off and put this one on. So there's a little set screw here, they call it a grub screw, that will come out, and that is what tightens the whorl onto the flyer shaft. One thing I will say is I have not done this before. This whorl has never come off of my wheel, so I'm a little bit anxious about it. In the video, Andy Pode has an idea where you take a tube and you use this with your Allen wrench to take out the screw from the whorl. This is actually just a straw my son Andrew got. This is a gift from a friend at work. So it's really just a metal drinking straw that I'm going to be using as an aid. And I'm going to stand up here. I know now with the Majacraft rose you get a really nice Allen wrench, like the ones they used to make with the purple handles. They use those in their manufacturing. But this is what he said you want to do, is use the straw to turn your Allen wrench, and lefty-loosey, so I'm going to go to the left. It's not given. I have a lot of anxiety about this. Okay, I've got a piece of tape here, which I'm going to use to grab the screw when it comes out, because I have this feeling I'm going to lose that little screw. Oh, come on. Okay. So I'm in there. Man. I can't seem to budget. We'll try something else. I'm going to throw a little bit of 3-in-1 in there just to see if that maybe will loosen it up. This has been 20 years that has been installed. Just a drop. Hopefully that helps. What did I do with the wrench now? Okay. Alrighty. I'm using the wrench to sort of get the oil around under the threaded section. And I verified with the newer whorl that left is the right direction. Still nothing. Jeez. Okay, loosened it up. I ended up using my plier, or my, pliers. Okay, so I am just unscrewing the grub screw here. I just took off the drive band. Okay, so I think it's loose. All right, so I'm gonna put my Allen wrench, whoa, upside down. So there it is. So that came off. It's just a little threaded grub screw. So I'm gonna put that on my tape. And just sort of tape it up so I don't lose it. Okay, now the whorl should just slide off. So we'll see about that. It may not want to go. It's loosening, it's going a little bit here. You've been on there for so long, haven't you? You son of a gun. So does that one have to come off as well? It doesn't make sense. Put a little bit of oil. Stand the design of these lids. Just a teensy bit. What are you caught on? I'm starting to feel like I just want to get a hammer and smash it, which I know is not a good idea. So this is the whorl that I got with that. It should just come off, right? The screw is out. What is it catching on? Okay, well, I finally got it off. I think it was just on there for so long. I am going to slide it back on there and just try and figure out what it was that kept that. I don't know. But I am going to just kind of wipe that with a tissue or cloth before I put the I ended up putting the flyer back on so I had something to pull against and something to rotate the shaft with. And that was helpful. Okay, so there's a flat section. Let me get my GoPro here so I can show you a close-up of that. Yes. There's a flat section. Catch the glare of the light with it. On the shaft. So it's right here. And you're all going to have one on your wheels. There's a little bit of a groove there from where I was trying to get it off. And that is where you're going to line up your rub screw hole so that it will screw onto, you're not going to screw into it, but you can see here there's a little bit of an indent where the screw was. So that's what you're going to use to install the new whorl. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Oh my gosh. So you can see there's the screw. And I got my flat there. So yeah, it is actually easier to have the flyer, any flyer, installed on the shaft as you're doing this. Just make sure lined up pretty well there. I'm happy. Get my Allen wrench. Now I'm going to clip to the right. Give it a bit of a tighten. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Oh my gosh, that was scary. Thought I was really in a pickle. So there's the grub screw for my bigger whorl. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right in there. I'm going to put it back in the where are we here? I'm going to put it back in there and thread it in so I don't lose it. There. Just a little. Just so I don't lose it. So that's back in there. I'm going to put a bit of wool on there. From a brave soldier. Been through so much with me. Okie dokie. So that's done. Oh, I was so nervous about that. All right, now I'm going to install my drive band. And because that whorl is so much smaller, I'm going to do a couple things. First of all, I'm going to put my head up and tilt it as high as I can. And see if that helped. It's still really loose. drive it. Let's see. Yeah. No, don't like it. Parallel, is it? It's pretty parallel. Well, let's put the flyer on and just see what happens. Very clumsy for some reason. Oh man, guys are gonna have to watch me put a leader on. I might do that away from the camera. Oh, what the heck. I just am really slipshod about it when I do it. That, now my lace flyer. Tighten up the brake band a little bit more. I don't want to have to change my drive band. I really don't want to have to do that. Okay. Bobbin doesn't want to move. Get something for the leader. Put that over. I'm going to spin clockwise, so that's why I moved that over there. What am I doing wrong here? It has to be fed that way. That does not seem, doesn't seem to like it. My shoulders are getting sore here. Doesn't want to take up my my leader. Is too thick, maybe. Let's get a smaller, less crappy one. All right, I got some lace yarn here. Maybe that'll be better. I feel so sorry for you guys having to watch this. There's gonna be some heavy editing going on. I'm just proud of myself that I haven't cursed. I lost my hook. There it is. Don't need that now. Alrighty. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a piece of my actual afflict lock or two to get started, because it might be that the roving isn't. I don't know, for whatever reason the roving maybe isn't working for me right now. We'll figure this out. I feel like I want a harder take up. go back to the roving and see what happens. Oh, it's giving me such a hard time in the beginning. You can get more twist in it. I'm not a huge fan of this roving, but it's good for practicing. I'm going to try that with the lock again. Just didn't feel like it was seated in there all the way, but it is. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to use a flicked lock of neck wool, which, like I said before, I'm really running low on wool, but I just want to see how it feels compared with the roving, which is a lot more jumbly and not as fine. Come on, baby. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I have this light on here because it's hard for me to see with just the lighting behind the cameras. Actually, I'm going to get this out of the way so I got the little contrast between the wool and yeah, that's better. I can see it against the little stool there. I can just put my glasses on, I guess. Little something in there. Yeah, I definitely like spinning in my flicked stuff better than mill roving. Really nice. So it's just twisting the heck out of it really fast. And my drive wheel is barely turning at all. So I'll figure out what the ratio is I'm working with right here, and I'll put that in the notes. I'm gonna try and get it really thin. I'm gonna mess around with the ratios a little bit too. Let's see if I can get it thinner. I feel like I was getting it thinner with the stylus kit than I am with this thing, but I don't know, maybe not. All right, well that's that. I can't believe I took this off. It's been so long, it's been on there. So pretty. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that and gave you a little better insight into the lace kit and how that works and how to install it. Okay, it's Sunday now, Sunday morning-ish. And I'm back at the lace kit spinning. So I wanted to show you how to install the lace kit, or, you know, watch me put it on. I don't know if I did it 100% properly. And then just watch as I attempt to spin using the lace kit. One adjustment I've made since videoing last night is I moved the drive band to, I think it's the third largest groove on the, oh yeah, good, you can see it right there. and then aligned that with my drive wheel so that they're parallel. And the reason I did that was I was feeling a little bit of a shimmy, a little bit of a imbalance when it was rotating, and that has eliminated that. It's a lot smoother now. So I was trying to run it on the fastest setting, right? And that it just seemed like it was a little bit too much. And I suspect it's due to the fact that my drive band is very loose. And I remembered that this is not the Majacraft Rose drive band. This is like an off-brand. And I'm just wondering if at this level of, you know, precise spinning that maybe that's a factor. But I didn't plan on changing my drive band for this. I'm going to, and I think what I'll do is I'll have another video segment of just changing the drive band on the Majacraft Rose. So, but yeah, this actually solved the shimmy issue. So now I'm spinning the roving right now. It's going pretty nicely. So what I wanted to try too, and then that'll complete this segment, is I'm going to try using the comb top that I had done at Zeilinger's. I haven't spun with the comb top at all. And so I thought this would be a fun opportunity to try it for the first time while I was using my lace kit for the first time. So we're going to have a go. So I'm now just switching over to the comb top from the roving. Okay, my first thing I'm noticing is the comb top does not want to release the fiber as easily as the roving, and that's probably because the comb top is all one direction where the roving is kind of jumbled together. So that's interesting. It's holding on, and that's probably going to force me to do this as a more of a supported spin. Ooh, look how thin that is. Oops, it broke. So that's interesting that you have to change. Well, why wouldn't it? You change a variable, you probably need to make adjustments. All right, so I'm going to feed this through all the guides. Everything is so tiny. The orifice looks smaller. And then I'm going to unwind it just to get back to the point where there's some nice twist. So one thing I did not do is I didn't really do much preparation about, you know, the principles of spinning for lace. I know I have I have a few people that have bought lace kits, but the one I communicate with fairly regularly, I'm actually going to reach out to her and just get her thought. Okay, so the comb top is actually spinning up a little thicker. It's so easy to draft though. I like it a lot. That's really thin. It's smoother than the roving. Sorry, keep on going out of the frame here. Let me adjust the camera a little so you can see the whole. I just wanted to set it up originally so you could see the whorl. Yeah, I do feel like I need to put a little bit of resistance with my non-drafting hand in order to be able to draft, be able to get the fiber to move out of the supply. That looks like lace right there, really thin. Like anything, it's going to take some practice. What I want to do is see how much yardage I can get out of a certain weight. I know that that's a thing with lace spinning that people do, is how many yards can you get with 1 ounce of fiber or whatever, and that's the challenge, to see how how fine you're spinning. And that might be something I would do as a fun little project or experiment. If there are people out there that are viewing this that are lace spinners, I sure would love to hear from you with tips or insights or, you know, things that you would change from how I'm doing. I'd love to hear from you, so. Yeah. So the comb top looks a lot more silky than the roving piece does. The whorl is so tiny. The other thing I did was I think my threads are messed up a little bit on this shaft. I might end up replacing it. It doesn't feel like, it feels rougher and like it's not engaging elegantly. I'm not sure what happened. It just feels kind of wibbly. I might actually look into replacing the flyer shaft altogether at some point. So this is the comb top right here. I'm not sure if you can even distinguish. And then this is the roving. Just the roving is a little more fuzzy in appearance. Yep, so that's that. Mark that off my list of things I want to try. Okay, so today I'm featuring our ewe Audie. She is extremely special. She's 2018 ewe, so she's from the NPR year. And we named her after Audie Cornish. And she's special. She's out of Itasca and Nitro. And she was Itasca's last lamb. And then we decided to retire Itasca. So she's just got that special extra wonderfulness. She's out of Itasca and Nitro. Nitro is a brown-based ram. So she carries brown. And we saw that this year with her lambs. We bred her to Rush. And she gave us a black ewe lamb and a brown ewe lamb. Her micron is 24.6 with a standard deviation of 5.7, which is a little bit higher. But if you remember from the nutrition conversation we had with Rich, he did grain them a little bit more heavily, so our numbers were a little bit higher, and we saw that with her. So hopefully this year, her numbers are going to go back down. So we're going to take a quick look at her fleece. Okay. Let me do this here. So she's black, but this is kind of confusing to some people. The tips are just sun bleached brown, but she is black, as you'll see. Let me bring this in. And there it is, nice and crimpy and lovely and a beautiful rich black. Nice and fine. Even further on back into the breech area here, more towards the back. Just very nice. I mean, it straightens out right on her back leg, but it's still really soft. So, just really awesome. She was sort of a bottle lamb. The reason we retired Itasca was that she had lumps on her udders. So we supplemented her with bottle, but she was still nursing off of Itasca. So, oopsie, come here. Let's put the coat back on you. And then you can go back in with everybody else. cute shot of your beautiful shiny face. And then she's got the cool little woolly pole, which is part of the standard. Can you see yourself? Oh, my dear girl. Just a beauty. Okay.
This is a picture of Itasca that I took a couple of years ago. Solid you. This is Audie's mother. And this is a picture of Nitro, Audie's sire. You can see he's brown and also spotted. This is sweet little Audie as a lamb. And what we learned right from the genetics is that because Nitro, her sire, is brown, she carries brown. This is a picture I took of Audie as a yearling, and she had her coat on already. So I took the coats off to get the picture. That's why she's got that weird little poof on her behind. And this next picture is Audie's black ewe lamb from this year. And finally is her brown ewe lamb, who is exhibiting spots, which makes sense because Audie also carries spots, which she inherited from her father. So hopefully you enjoyed that little focus on Audie.